Number 4, I'm dealing with mental illness. This is another one that we don't say in church. Depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, PTSD, OCD. These are all medical conditions, but in church we spiritualize them. You just need more faith. You need to pray harder. You need deliverance. And people who are already struggling now feel ashamed that they can't just pray it away. They feel like their mental illness is evidence of a spiritual failure. But you know what? If you had diabetes, you take insulin. If you had high blood pressure, you take medication. Mental illness is no different. Your brain is an organ, and sometimes organs need medical intervention. That doesn't mean you don't pray. That doesn't mean you don't believe in healing. It means you're wise enough to know that God created doctors, therapists, and medications for a reason. But try saying at church, I'm on antidepressants, or I'm seeing a therapist, and watch how quickly people suggest you need more prayer instead. Number 5. This is something that we don't say in church. I don't like worship music. The service is too long. I don't like certain ministries. This seems small compared to the others, but it's revealing, because even in preferences, we feel like we have to conform. If you don't like loud music, something is wrong with you. If you prefer shorter service, you're not hungry for God. If you don't connect with a certain ministry style, you're being critical. But in Romans 12 and verse 2, the word says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. We use that verse to talk about worldly conformity. But what about religious conformity? What about the pressure to fit into a box of what good church people look like, act like, worship like? God created diversity, different temperaments, different preferences, different ways of connecting with Him. And that's okay. Sexual sin, doubt, anger, mental illness, even preferences. These are the things we don't say at church, and the silence around them creates isolation, shame, and spiritual performance instead of genuine relationship. So why don't we speak these truths? Why do we stay silent? Let me identify the 5 main reasons. Number 1, fear of judgment. We're afraid people will look at us differently. They'll question our salvation. They'll wonder if we should be serving in ministry. They'll whisper about us in the parking lot. And let's be honest, sometimes that fear is justified because the churches aren't always a safe place to be vulnerable. Number 2, we stay silent because we're ashamed. We've been taught that struggling is shameful, that real Christians don't have these problems, that if we were really walking with God, we wouldn't be dealing with this. So we carry shame for being human, shame for having questions, shame for not being perfect. Number 3, we stay silent because of spiritual pressure. There's an unspoken expectation that the longer you've been saved, the fewer struggles you should have. The spiritual maturity means never having doubts, never getting angry, never falling into temptation. So if you're a leader, a minister, someone who's been in church for years, You especially can't admit struggle because people expect you to be past that. Number 4, we stay silent because we're protecting others. We don't want to stumble anyone. We don't want to shake someone's faith. We don't want to be the reason someone walks away from church. So we hide our struggles to protect other people's perception of Christianity. Number 5, we stay silent because we don't know how. We literally don't have the language or the framework for honesty. We've been saying I'm blessed for so long that we don't know how to say I'm broken. We've been trained to testify, not to confess, to declare victory, not to admit defeat, to speak things that are not as though they were, not to speak things as they actually are. Let me tell you what staying silent costs, because the price is higher than you think. Silence costs you authentic community. When you're wearing a mask, people can't really know you. They know the version of you that you perform on Sunday morning, but they don't know the real you. And that means you're surrounded by people but still lonely. You're in community but still isolated, because connection requires vulnerability, and vulnerability requires honesty. In Hebrews 10 verse 24 to 25, the word talks about spurring one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, but encouraging one another. But you cannot encourage someone you don't really know. You cannot spur on someone who's pretending. You can't meet the real needs of someone who's hiding their real struggles. Silence costs you healing. I already mentioned James 5:16, confession brings healing. But when you stay silent, you stay sick. Your sexual sin doesn't get better in the dark, it gets worse. Your doubt doesn't disappear through suppression, it grows. Your mental illness doesn't heal through denial, it intensifies. Healing requires bringing things into the light. It requires safe people. It requires honest prayer. It requires sometimes professional help. But silence keeps you trapped in the cycle. Silence can cost others their freedom. When you pretend you don't struggle, other people think they're the only ones struggling. When you hide your questions, other people think they're the only ones doubting. When you perform holiness, other people think something's wrong with them for not being able to maintain the performance. Your honesty could be someone else's permission. Your transparency could be someone else's breakthrough. Your vulnerability could be someone else's validation that they're not alone, they're not crazy, they're not a failure. But your silence robs them of that. Silence costs you spiritual growth. You can't grow through problems you won't acknowledge. You can't overcome struggles you won't admit. You can't get help for issues you won't name. Spiritual maturity isn't the absence of struggle. It's learning to walk through struggle with God and with community. But when you stay silent, you stay stuck. You keep recycling the same patterns, fighting the same battles, dealing with the same issues, just hiding them better. Silence costs you intimacy with God. And this is perhaps the biggest one. When you're performing for people, you start performing for God. Your prayers become performances. Your worship becomes a show. Your relationship with God becomes a religious routine. In Psalms 51 and verse 6, the word of God says, "Yet you desired faithfulness even in the womb. You taught me wisdom in that secret place." God desires truth in the innermost being, not performance, not pretense, truth. He wants your honest prayers, even when you're angry. He wants your real worship, even when it's weak. He wants your authentic relationship, even when it's messy. Authentic community, healing, freedom for others, spiritual growth, intimacy with God, these are the cost of silence, and those prices are way too high. So how do we break the silence? How do we start being honest at church? Let me give you a practical framework. Step number 1, you need to find safe people first. You don't have to announce your struggles from the pulpit. You don't have to share your deepest issues in front of the whole congregation. Start with one safe person, someone who's demonstrated they can hold confidential information, someone who's shown grace to others, someone who won't use your vulnerability as gossip. In Proverbs 18 and verse 24, it speaks about a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Find that person, test the waters, share a little and see how they respond before you share everything. Step number 2, use I statements. Don't say everybody struggled with this or a friend of mine is dealing with this. Instead, say, I am struggling with this. Own it, name it, claim it. There is power in saying I because it's honest and it's vulnerable. It opens the door for real connection and for you getting real help. Step number 3, request what you need. When you share, be clear about what you're looking for. Are you looking for prayer? Are you looking for accountability or resources? Or do you just need someone to listen? Because sometimes people respond poorly, not because they're judgmental, but because they don't know what you need from them. So guide the conversation. Step number 4, set boundaries around what you share. You don't have to tell everyone everything. You don't have to share your whole story with every person. Some things are for your therapist. Some things are for your accountability partner. Some things are for your pastor. Some things are for your close friends. And some things are better left unsaid. Wisdom means knowing who can handle what information. Discernment means knowing when and where to share information. Step 5, be patient with the process. Breaking silence is scary. It feels risky, and sometimes people won't respond perfectly. But don't let one bad experience shut you down completely. Keep looking for safe people. Keep being honest. Keep breaking the silence. Because the alternative, staying silent, staying hidden, staying stuck, is worse than the risk of being honest.